Well, hello and a very warm welcome to St Peter Mancroft Church here in the heart of Norwich. My name's Edward Carter. I'm the vicar here at the church, in fact. Every Wednesday at 1 o'clock we just have a short reflection which is for those here in the church, but also it's live streamed. So welcome if you're here in the church, welcome if you're joining the live stream. If you're enjoying looking around the church, do carry on doing that. You don't need to listen to me particularly. Do enjoy carrying on with your visit here to Mancroft. But we've got downstairs at this church a little octagonal shaped room that is part of the building, but at the moment it's absolutely jammed full of costumes and props and giant models of animals and all sorts of crazy things, all part of a big community drama project that's happening just at the moment here in Norwich. It's running all this week. It's a drama group, a community drama group called The Common Lot, and they're a fantastic bunch. And they've created an amazing drama called On the Her, which is a lovely Norfolk expression meaning kind of on the slant, on the slope. And it's celebrating Norwich Market, which is right next to the church here, celebrating 900 years of Norwich Market. There was a market in Norwich before then, but it moved to this particular location exactly 900 years ago. So I make that the year 1126, which is a long, long time ago, moved here by the Normans after they'd invaded England and come to Norwich. Anyway, the first performance of On the Her, the community drama event, was last night. And I came along because I wanted to see what was happening. I did slightly wonder how many people would come out on a Tuesday night. I thought might be a handful, might be 50 people. There were hundreds of people. It was absolutely packed here in the city centre, huge crowds. And it being a street drama, a community drama project, it wasn't just go into a theatre and sit in your seat nicely. It was follow the action around the city centre. So it started on the Haymarket, just on the south side of the church. And I gathered with a crowd of, I don't know how many hundreds of people, but it was a lot of people. And there was music, and there were actors, and there was drama, all about Norwich Market, On the Her. And it started way back then in Norman's time, and ran right through the whole story of those 900 years. And it didn't just stay down in the Haymarket. We moved up Hay Hill to outside the Forum, the Millennium Plain between this church and the Forum. And then we moved a bit later on across to the City Hall. There was more action there, more of the story there. And then it ended right down on Gentleman's Walk, where some of the shops are. So it was a circuit. And that final move, of course, takes you down through the market. And that was part of the event as well. And it might sound as though it was a bit of a disparate thing running through 900 years of history, but there were some lovely common threads through it as well. Some of the characters. There was one particular man who was a bit of a baddie, and he kept appearing in different costumes. And there was also a pigeon. It wasn't a real pigeon, it was a giant pigeon because it was a person dressed up as a pigeon. And he kept popping up as well because pigeons do feature in Norwich Market quite a bit. Well, I really enjoyed myself. I was part of the crowd. I was kind of in the drama as well, joining in with different parts of it. And between the third and fourth of the tableaus, when people were invited to move down through the market, there were various little pop-up mini dramas as well. And they'll vary each performance. But I enjoyed a number of those yesterday evening. One was put on by members of this church here. And it was about two different menageries or zoos kind of competing for customers. And it was also to do with ringing in the new year with the bells here in the church. So you've got to imagine dromedaries like camels and elephants and competing factions. It was wonderful. I did also meet, as part of that element of the drama, a lady down on the market who was where her dad had had a stall for, I think it was about 60 years he'd run his stall, and she remembered it as a child and then grown up. And he sold clothing, a particular kind of clothing, on the market. So it was lovely chatting with her about her memories of being on the market. There was another person, very good person, who was pretending to be from the East Norfolk Militia, not the West Norfolk Militia, mind you, they were great rivals, in the 18th century, so around the time of the Napoleonic Wars. He had an amazing uniform on. He explained to me that it was a bit like the police force of the day. He even tried to recruit me as a chaplain to the militia, which I declined politely. Anyway, the final set, the final bit of the performance, the drama, down on Gentleman's Walk, brought it up to the present, to today. It told the story of the last little bit of the history, the challenges of running a stall, the changes that we've seen in the last decade or two, the opportunities. Some businesses that have grown quite big started out on the market. It described it very much as we know it, a place of human interaction, a place of community, a space for people. Yes, to buy and sell, but actually to be people alongside one another as well. I talked about the guy who was the baddie, and he arrived on the stage down there near the end wearing a cap saying mega. He was sort of mega corp type person. And he said, this kind of market, it's had its day, doesn't really belong in the modern world. What we need is internet shopping and enormous businesses and supermarkets. And the crowd by now, I was amongst them, were very much invested in the show. We all started booing. No, we don't want that kind of world. We want a world where there's a proper market, a market where we can meet people and enjoy being with people who actually are providing things for us to buy. And then there was even a bit of imagined future, the final bit of the drama, the show. People were dressed in interesting futuristic outfits. And they began to describe a possible future in which the market was just like a tourist curiosity, really. A place where once people used to have stalls, where once people used to buy and sell things, but no longer a real place, just a tourist attraction. And we booed again. No, we don't want that kind of future, we said. We don't want that. Because as we were booing and as I was reflecting on the amazing show that we'd seen, I began to see more clearly, and this is of course what the show is designed to do, began to see more clearly that truth, that to be fully alive as human beings, we need that sense of life alongside other people, actually real life, not made up life with others, but real life, gritty life, a genuine market, if you like, where we can all play our part, where we can bring our energies, our passions, the things we can do well, and where we can meet others who want to, as it were, kind of deal with us as part of the hurly-burly of life. And on the Her, the community drama project, well, it really brought that truth to life very successfully for me. So I do commend the show to you. If you haven't seen it and you're hearing me speak now while it's still on this week, I do commend it to you. It runs every evening through the week, and then on Sunday there's an afternoon performance at 3 o'clock. And I'm proud that we as a church are able to support this drama. Yes, our octagon room is packed full of all the props and the costumes, interesting models of great big horses, even a dragon that we've borrowed from somewhere down there. And they've all come out each night to put on the show. I'm really proud that we're able to support the show this week. But I'm also very proud that this church of St. Peter Mancroft, has stood next to the market for a long period, a long part of that 900-year history. Probably almost 2/3 of the life of the market here. This very building has stood quite tall above the market. And that Norwich Market is actually in the parish which this church serves as well. We're linked to the market umbilically, really. And this church, I realised again last night as well that churches can be seen as a bit of a tourist curiosity as well, just an interesting old place where nothing relevant happens now. And just as the drama reminded us that a market should never be that, so too churches should never be just an interesting old place where things used to happen. Because churches as well are a real place for today. A real community place, yes, a real people place, But actually, for churches in particular, they're places where people, you, me, where we can recognise that spiritual part of life as well, where we can recognise the ways in which God is with us, ways in which we can meet with God. And so that richness of life that the market has so much of is also true for this church building as well, this place. Life lived with reference to God and that spiritual strand. But to sum it up and to combine the two, a place for life, a place for life. Isn't that worth celebrating? Well, I think it is. Thank you very much for listening to me today and these few words, this short reflection. We have these reflections every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, and I hope to see you again, perhaps next week, for next time. Thank you again, and blessings on the day.